Hello and welcome. In this video, I'm going to be covering my top 3 favorite updates in Unreal Engine 5.1. These features are things that I find most useful to my workflow, which happens to be using Unreal Engine to create films and digital art. So let's get to it. My first favorite feature is nanite support for foliage. This is a huge deal. In the past in Unreal Engine, when you're doing scenes that involve a lot of grass or other plants that are in the distance, also trees, you will get this effect. So in the foreground, the grass and foliage looks good. It holds up pretty well. But as you get further away from camera, because of the LOD system, which is what nanite now replaces, you have these very bad looking, clumpy card shapes in the distance. And that's because you can even see this line here is when it gets to the distance away from camera that it will switch to this lower level of detail version of the grass. So if I go up in the air here, you can see the grass has reverted to those little card shapes. And then as I get closer in here, you can even see this line popping in of the higher quality grass. This has always been a problem and often gives this grass in the distance a kind of video gamey look. But now we have nanite support for foliage as well. So the way you turn it on is super easy. You just grab your grass foliage asset here and you open up the geometry for that grass. In that, under the nanite settings, which is a new drop down, which is all the way at the top here on the right, you need to enable nanite support here and then go ahead and hit apply changes. And suddenly now the grass in the distance has the same level of fidelity as the grass in the foreground, which is awesome. Now if I move my camera up, you'll see no weird popping or adjustment as the grass gets further away from camera. It just works magically, which is amazing. My second favorite feature in 5.1 is the way they handle the animation tracks now. Similar to how they've done it in the past, you have keyframes. I have these 2 keyframes, for example, on my camera, but they have a new visualization for these keyframes, which involves this line that shows when things are animated. When I set additional keys, they're going to be along this line here. And in addition to that, we have this track up here at the top that we can now expand or contract to affect all the animation underneath it, which is really helpful because before we had to go in and individually select all these keyframes, move them to kind of adjust the timing. Now you can both scale and stretch the animation as you see fit and move the track as well. This is super useful and helpful for retiming your animation. Works for cameras, works for characters, works for anything that you're animating. I'm going to use this almost every day. My third favorite feature in Unreal Engine 5.1 is the color correction window tool. You may or may not have already been using this tool here under volumes. If we hit the create button here, come down to volumes, this color correction region already existed before, but now we also have a color correction window. Now, if you're not seeing these 2 options, you will need to enable them from the plugins manager, which you can find up here under edit plugins. You're going to type in color and make sure you have color correction regions enabled here. So this new color correction window, for example, I want to make this sky more blue in just that area, not the whole shot, just that area of the sky. I can do that now. In the past, when we used the color correction region, it needed to physically overlap with the objects or area that it was color correcting. That no longer is the case with the new color correction window. It will just color correct everything behind it. So if I'm seeing through it, it's color correcting everything in the background behind the window. It does not need to be overlapping with anything. So I'm going to go ahead and rotate this, scale it up here. Under the color grading settings, I'm going to expand it, come to gamma and up the blue here. Okay, so we have a kind of a square shape here, but we can change that by scrolling up to the top here and changing the type to a circle, which will change the shape of the color correction to a circle, obviously. And we can modify the fall off, maybe 0.1 or maybe 0.2. We'll soften the fall off here. And now we have this shape that we can position and color correct just that area of the sky here. And I can also lower the intensity a little bit just so it's not so obvious. This can be a really helpful way to further refine your shot. There's also some other options here like inverting it or just affecting the temperature. So these are just my favorite 3. There were other updates as well, but I find these to be the most useful. Some other call outs though, I know the lumen rendering quality overall was increased in various areas like reflection, like the global illumination. You're just going to have better renders right out of the box, which is amazing. And I know there's been other rigging and modeling updates, which I am looking forward to jumping into as well. And I will make a video when I fully understand how I can use it so I can teach you. Drop a comment below if you'd like to see videos about some of the other features in 5.1. If you found this video helpful, throw me a thumbs up. If you'd like more videos like this, go ahead and hit the subscribe button so you will get them. And if you're feeling a little overwhelmed and you want a little bit more in-depth training, I've also made a free training for those of you who'd like to go deeper in how to use Unreal Engine as a filmmaking tool. You can check that out in the description below. Have a great day.